Number 1, Jeff Bezos age, 57 residence, Seattle founder and executive chair, Amazon, AMZN, net worth, $177 billion. 1 Amazon ownership stake, 11%, $178 billion. Other assets, Blue Origin, $7.15 billion. Private assets, The Washington Post, $250 million. Private assets, and $13.4 billion in cash. 2 In 1994, Jeff Bezos founded Amazon.com in a garage in Seattle, shortly after he resigned from the hedge fund giant D.E. Shaw. 3 In fact, he had originally pitched the idea of an online bookstore to his former boss David E. Shaw, who wasn't interested. 4 Number 2, Elon Musk age, 50 residence, Austin, Texas co-founder and CEO, Tesla, TSLA, net worth, $151 billion. 1 Tesla ownership stake, 20%, $125 billion. Other assets, Space Exploration Technologies, $29.8 billion. Private assets, and The Boring Company, $101 million. Private assets. 15 Elon Musk has had his hands in several different companies over the years. Originally enrolled at Stanford University, Musk deferred his attendance to launch Zip2, one of the earliest online navigation services. A portion of the proceeds from this endeavor was then reinvested to create X.com, an online payment system that later became PayPal. While both of these systems were eventually sold to other companies, Musk has maintained his status as CEO and lead designer of his third project, Space Exploration Technologies, SpaceX, which aims to make space exploration more affordable. 16 Number 3. Bernard Arnault. Age, 72. Residence, Paris. CEO and Chair, LVMH, Levmui. Net worth, $150 billion. 1. Christian Dior ownership stake, 97.5%, $133 billion. Other assets, Moelis & Company equity, $23.3 billion. Public assets, Hermes equity, $2.23 billion. Public assets, Carrefour equity, $900 million. Public assets, and $9.48 billion in cash. 25 French national Bernard Arnault is the chair and CEO of LVMH, the world's largest luxury goods company. This business owns some of the biggest brands on earth, including Louis Vuitton, Hennessy, Marc Jacobs, Sephora, and many more. 26 The majority of his wealth, however, actually comes from his massive stake in Christian Dior SA, the holding company that controls 41.25% of LVMH. 27 His shares in Christian Dior SA, plus an additional 6.2% in LVMH, are held through his family-owned holding company, Groupe Arnault SA. 25 An engineer by training, Arnault's business chops became apparent while working for his father's construction firm, Farrad Savinil, which he would take control of in 1971. He later converted Farrad Savinil to a real estate company named Farinil Incorporated in 1979.28. Number 4. Bill Gates age, 65 residence, Medina, Washington co-founder, Microsoft Corporation, MSFT. 31 Net worth, $124 billion. 1 Microsoft ownership stake, 1.3%, $31.2 billion. Other assets, Republic Services equity, $13.5 billion. Public assets, John Deere equity, $10 billion. Public assets, Canadian National Railway equity, $9.14 billion. Public assets, Ecolab equity, $6.92 billion. Public assets, Givaudan equity, $5.56 billion. Public assets, FEMSA equity, $2.42 billion. Public assets, Waste Management equity, $2.26 billion. Public assets, Berkshire Hathaway equity, $1.87 billion. Public assets, Diageo equity, $1.77 billion. Public assets, Sika AG equity, $1.5 billion public assets. Arch Capital Group equity, $1.42 billion public assets. AutoNation equity, $1.33 billion public assets. Liberty Global equity, $251 million public assets. Fomento de Construcciones y Contratas equity, $200 million public assets. Ottertail Corporation equity, $190 million public assets. Western Asset Inflation Linked Opportunities and Income Fund equity, $180 million public assets. Western Asset Inflation Linked Income Fund, $69.9 million public assets, and $62.6 billion in cash. 32. Number 5. Mark Zuckerberg. Age, 37. Residence, Palo Alto, California. Co-founder, CEO, and chair, Facebook, FB. Net worth, $97 billion. Facebook ownership stake, 13%, $138 billion. 46. Other assets, $3.35 billion in cash and $225 million in real estate. 47. Mark Zuckerberg first developed Facebook alongside fellow students Eduardo Saverin, Dustin Moskovitz, and Chris Hughes while attending Harvard University in 2004. As Facebook began to be used at other universities, Zuckerberg dropped out of Harvard to focus entirely on his growing business. Today, Zuckerberg is the CEO and chair of Facebook, which had more than 2.8 billion monthly active users as of Q1 2021.4849. Facebook is the world's largest social networking service, enabling its users to create a personal profile, connect with friends and family, join or create groups, and much more. As the website is free to use, most of the company's revenue is generated through advertising.